of Kriti Samhita, which is part of Kriti Samhita. Sanskrit, it is a kind of initiative that we have put together by the India International Center with collaboration from the MEA, the Ministry of External Affairs, India, to put together a digital library of manuscripts that have traveled from India to other places in the world. For example, right from Japan and Southeast Asia to Europe and also to the US and UK. So this will be a open digital library that will be accessible to all. So we have started an initiative, and this lecture series is part of that initiative. So today, this is this being the 12th lecture, we have an excellent scholar, Professor Vytis Vidunas, lecturer of Sanskrit in the Institute of Asian and Transcultural Studies and the Faculty of Philosophy in Vilnius University in Lithuania, and he'll be talking about Sanskrit and Lithuanian, linguistic and historical notes. Professor Vidunas is a scholar, linguist, comparatist, and he has also compiled a dictionary of Sanskrit and Lithuanian called with a minimal as a start with about 108 words, and he plans to extend that to much more heights, which also reveals that there is a strong connection between India and Lithuania, and also Sanskrit and the language. So we look forward to his lecture, and it is being chaired by Professor Shashi Bala, who is a well-known scholar of Buddhism and Southeast Asian studies. And before that, I invite the ambassador of Lithuania is here. Her name is Diana Mitsikavichiene. I hope I have pronounced it correctly. I request you to come and say a few words before I open the session to the scholar. Thank you so much.
A very good evening to everybody. Dear colleagues, dear friends, it's such a pleasure for me to open something that I think is going to be a very interesting session of tonight with a lecture on the linguistic similarities between Lithuanian language, my mother tongue, and Sanskrit. It's a well-known linguistic fact in Lithuania and in Europe that Lithuanian language somehow is the closest living sister language to Sanskrit. How come? We are calling scholars to answer why and how. But we as an embassy and me as ambassador, we felt that this is a too important connection to neglect it, and important enough to, in fact, build at least some of our cooperation and connections with India on, because it opens people's hearts when you realize how closely your languages are connected despite the thousands of kilometers in distance between our countries. And this connection has been explored in Lithuania to some extent, and actually became almost a part of our national identity building, our pride. Therefore, a number of Lithuanian scholars have reached out to India to learn about this, to study it. It prompted the most unusual trips and travels to India. For example, my own hero, a young scholar at that time from Lithuania, Antanas Poška, who set off to India on a motorbike in 1929. Despite the fact that there were hardly any roads in Europe or Asia. But, well, Sanskrit was his big dream and motive, and he came and stayed and studied for almost 6 years, in India. Our leader of independence, Jonas Basanavičius, was also very interested in that connection and prided himself deeply in that fact. So today I have this pleasure to have a professor of Vytis Vidunas, who is my teacher of Sanskrit. When I was a first grader at Vilnius University, he just came back trained in Sanskrit and started teaching. So now he told me I was his first student of Sanskrit. In fact, I didn't actually even realize it, but I'm also very proud to be the first student of Sanskrit in modern Lithuania. So the idea is to have a story told, how we understand. We will be having a roadshow of seminars, academic seminars in a number of institutions in India, but we also felt we needed a public lecture, to give a story in a less academic but more popular terms, because it's such a fascinating connection that it could be of interest to many of, I hope, all of you. And I would like to thank IIC for and Dr. Sudha and Professor Shashibala for being such kind patrons to our endeavor. So I cannot thank enough to all of you who have found time and possibility in this very busy week of Navaratras and Dashera to actually spare a wee evening with us. I don't want to, use this floor and abuse it more. So I would stop here. I would thank all of you who have helped us, who have come to be with us, and wish you a very interesting journey into something that is a history of my language that's spoken about by 4.5 million people abroad. But we're very, very keen to be that bridge in linguistics that opens horizons also for Sanskrit speakers and those who are from Sanskrit-based culture into a wider world and put Sanskrit in a global context. Thank you very much and wish you all the very best this evening. And give the floor to my teacher.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. May I invite our chair, Professor Shashibala, Dean of the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan's K.M. Munshi Center for Indology and a preeminent scholar of Sanskrit linkages across Asia, and our speaker, Professor Vidunas.
So, namaskar to all of you. It's a real great pleasure to have Professor Vytis Vidunas here, because we have been talking, listening, and reading about him and his work and his teacher's work. Just before coming to this place, we were with the president, and he told that his teacher was Professor Eliza Rinkova, Tatiana Eliza Rinkova, who was such a great scholar of Vedas. So it's a great tradition of Sanskrit, studying Sanskrit linguistically, and there are so many avenues, so many perspectives with which these scholars have dedicated the whole of their lives. And Lithuania, how close Lithuania is to Sanskrit, or how, because language is a mirror of culture, of the people, of the civilization, there is so much that language tells us. So I give a small, very brief introduction of Professor Vytis Vidunas. In my mouth, in place of Vidunas, it's coming with one. With one. So it's Professor Vidwan here. So, Professor Vidwan now. So, the speaker today.
Can I interrupt?
Please.
10 years ago, I met Tara Gandhi and gave her my card, and she said, "Oh, it's what is your family made? Vidunas. You will be Vidwan.
Yes.
You will be Vyas Vidwan for me." So so you are just repeating this my name.
Thank you. So he's with Vyas Vidwan for us. So He's an author of Sanskrit Lithuanian dictionary. Do you have a copy? We'll show.
We will have.
Okay, so it's to look at. You will see it's a small dictionary of 108 words, but now he's planning for a much bigger dictionary. It was published in 2016, and he has widely published on Vedic literature, on phonetics, textual history, and meter. He set up the Center for Hindi Studies at the Center of Oriental Studies, Vilnius University. He has lectured in many universities, including Trivandrum University. He was president of the Lithuanian Indian Forum. And it's a great pleasure to have him here. So without taking much time, I request you, Professor, to please enlighten us wherever you like.
I would like.
Yeah, please,
Okay.
please.
Okay. Mhm. Okay. Just kaip paleist rasą. Čia man vartyti. Bet o kaip dabar? Okay. Ir dabar jeigu aš spaudžiu šitą.
I'm sorry for being so informal, addressing all of you. So many friends from various countries, excellencies, distinguished scholars. I'm very sorry that I was so informal.
Oh, it's very fine.
It's just nice.
Okay. Okay.
Because my mind was totally towards him.
Yes.
Listen to him.
Thank you very much, Professor Shishubala. Your Excellencies, ambassadors, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me to stand here before you and to introduce my topic of investigations, which I led during last few decades, and to introduce some linguistic links between Sanskrit and Lithuanian, and to expose for you some historical facts as well. So let us begin. And I will introduce, first of all, I would like to introduce the term Balts. And what do we mean by term ancient Balts? Balts and what is the world, and what could be the words of ancient Balts. So you see my figure, a photo. Such wooden figures of two horses are still very common on the roof of Lithuanian houses. Usually they are placed on the both ends of the roof. The old tradition tells that figures protect houses from fire and bring prosperity to the family. And the name of these horses is Ashvieni, in Lithuanian, Ashvieni. We call them Ashvieni. Ashvieni. And of course, it's they are very good gods, and we will return to them in the end of my presentation, and we will try. I ask their protection through all our journeys to the world of the Baltic world and the world of Lithuanians. So, what do we mean under the term Balts? According to the comparative linguistics, the Lithuanian language belongs to the Baltic branch of the Indo-European family of languages. I would like to say a few words about the so-called Balts and the term the Baltic languages itself. The term Balts could be used in two different meanings, depending upon whether we use it in a geopolitical sense or in a linguistic ethnological sense. The first means the Baltic states on the eastern coasts of the Baltic Sea, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. You see these states on the map with their flags. And this is a common geopolitical term for nowadays. We are called so. The second meaning refers to the peoples who belong to one linguistic branch of the Indo-European family of languages: Lithuanians, Latvians, Old Prussians, along with their extinct king tribes. And I would like to point one thing, that Estonians, as Finno-Ugrians, should be excluded from this list, because Estonians speak a language entirely different from the Indo-European languages and are of the different origin. So you see the figure, and this is the figure map or scheme from the Anno Domini 1200 to 1200. And this figure I took from the book of our famous archaeologist. She was mentioned already by Her Excellency, Diana Mickevičienė. I took it from the book of Maria Gimbutas, or Gimbutienė. In Lithuanian manner, we called her Gimbutienė. In international scientific manner, she is known like the scientist Gimbutas. And it's amazing. I changed, as a matter of fact, today I changed the map, because today was an amazing thing. We visited with Her Excellency the center, Indira Gandhi Center for National Center for Arts, and we were looking for some books in the library of prominent Indian scholar of linguistics, Suniti Kumar Chatterjee. We were checking the books, and I found the book between the books of Suniti Kumar Chatterjee. I found the book of Maria Gimbutas. I took this scheme just to show that always there were always scientific connections, and people were interested in such kind of knowledge, and were looking for these relations. The name Balts, deriving from the Baltic Sea, in Latin is Mare Balticum, is a quite new term introduced by German linguist Ferdinand Nesselmann in 1845, and naming the people speaking so-called Baltic languages. They were mentioned, but I will repeat: Old Prussian, Lithuanian, Latvian or Lettish, Curonian, Semigalian, and Salian. The last three and all Prussians are the extinct tribes. They were extinct in different times. The Old Prussian language, as it was mentioned above, disappeared by the beginning of the 18th century due to German colonization of East Prussia. Curonian, Semigalian, and Salian disappeared somewhere between the 15th and 17th centuries. Other Eastern Baltic languages or dialects became extinct even in the proto-historic or early historic period and are not preserved in written sources. Nowadays, from Baltic languages, we have only Lithuanian and Latvian. They are the living languages. And just I want you I want to make clear that there is no nation like Balts, and never been. Balts is a scientific term introduced by the scientist Ferdinand Nesselmann, and used nowadays when we talk about these nations. I need to mention that at the beginning of the 20th century, the term AST or IST in that time this was pronounced like Aisti, as another name of these languages was used. This was taken from Roman historian Tacitus. In his book Germania, in the end of the 1st century, Tacitus has mentioned gentes Aestiorum, Esti tribes, the people living on the eastern shore of the Baltic Sea. From Tacitus, we learn that in the 1st century, Aisti were the people collecting amber and cultivating crops. You see amber in this figure, and this is not stone. This is fossilized juice of trees, and fossilized very strong. It was always considered very precious gemstone, and even was taken to Rome like a very precious item. And still we use our gintaras, we call gintaras or amber, when we have our, we could show. I've noticed our ambassador has like a necklace. And please note that thing, that according to Tacitus, the 1st century of Christian era, Aisti worshipped the mother goddess and bore mask which protected them. And from that we know that worshipping of mother goddess, female deity, was very important in the ancient Baltic world. And again, the prominent Lithuanian scholar Maria Gimbutienė, mentioned above, has proved this fact that this was very important religion and tradition in the Baltic world in her works. And I guess you know, female deity, and tomorrow is a big holiday in India. That's it. You will worship female deity, of course. So it could be a tradition which we need to investigate again, which could be links here. It's like a topic, mythology and mythological links. I will not pay attention, a lot of attention to this topic today, but it could be the topic of our further investigations. The ancient Balts apparently had not their own writings. No inscriptions have been found on stone or birch bark. The earliest writings in Old Prussian and later in Lithuanian date from the very early 14th, Lithuanian exactly from the 16th centuries. All earlier knowledge concerning the Balts was from foreign chronicles such as ancient Greek, Latin, Germanic, and Slavonic. I took here like illustration of manuscript of Rig Veda. I found this folio in the manuscript library of Trivandrum University. It's a manuscript of Rig Veda on him Purusha Suktam, as a matter of fact, on palm leaves. It's like the illustration because you know that in India you have very long-lasting oral tradition called Shruti, and that is important. We could suppose that could be very long ancient tradition not to have scriptures, but to give this tradition in oral way. And this we can't find old manuscripts, for example, of Rig Veda, and so this manuscript is circa the 17th century of Christian era, and if we have, for example, manuscript of Rig Veda of the 14th century, it is considered already very old manuscript of the Rig Veda. So we need to mention that the lands occupied by the contemporary Balts are approximately 1/6 to the territory they occupied by them in the prehistoric times. We know that from toponyms, names of places, and especially hydronyms, names of rivers. In the wide areas of Russia and Ukraine, and again from Gimbutas, Maria Gimbutiene, I took a scheme where you could see so big area. I will show this way. This area of Balts in prehistoric times. There are many Baltic words borrowed by the Finno-Ugrians and even by the Volga Finns who lived in the eastern Russia. We have Baltic words near Volga River as well. So now let's look to the relations of Sanskrit and Lithuanian, and I will give you some historical perspective. So-called, I will tell you about Sanskrit from Lithuanian side. Since the 19th century, the interest of Lithuanian intellectuals in Sanskrit has been strongly influenced by the development of comparative linguistics. And of course, the father of comparative linguistics, German scholar Franz Bopp, one of the founders of comparative linguistics, was one of the first to introduce the Lithuanian language into the field of scientific research. And from that day, the Lithuanian language, as well as Sanskrit, became very important languages for Indo-European linguistics. So, Franz Bopp has presented a wide range of comparative tables where juxtaposition of Sanskrit and Lithuanian data is always of great importance. Bopp, for instance, gives common comparisons of Sanskrit forms of locative case, vrike, literally in the wolf, from hot party, lord, husband, or sunau, from sunu, son. And these forms he compares with corresponding Lithuanian grammatical forms vilke, patyje, sunuja. These examples we could find in his works. Laying the foundations of the comparative Indo-European linguistics, Franz Bopp brought forth a scientific tradition of Sanskrit Lithuanian linguistic comparisons as well. So both Sanskrit and Lithuanian is very important. They became subjects of comparative linguistics, and from that time, many scholars were learning both Sanskrit and Lithuanian just to know and to use these languages in their comparisons. On the other side, discoveries of linguists inspired a lot of educated people in Lithuania to look for different links between Lithuanian and other Indo-European cultural traditions. Public discussions concerning Indo-Lithuanian relations and linguistic resemblances between Sanskrit and Lithuanian had started even earlier, in the very beginning of the 19th century. I want to show you some facts. I found a few years ago. So before Franz Bopp and other linguistics published their investigations, there were some discussions between Lithuanian scholars in the very beginning of the 19th century. For example, in 1826, Dionysius Poška, our noble Lithuanian humanitarian in common sense, like Renaissance people were. So he was a historian, collected different things for his own museum and so on. So he, in his letter to historian and professor of Vilnius University, Joachim Lelewel, presupposed that this is exact quotation from this text. Sanskrit could be the father and the mother of all languages. What does it mean? It means that already in the beginning of the 19th century was discussion between educated people. Poška, by the way, Poška is on the left and Lelewel on the right. I haven't put their names here. So, more detailed Sanskrit-Lithuanian linguistic links were discussed in the articles and public lectures of German scholar Peter Bohlen, again in the beginning of the 19th century. And I discovered that Peter Bohlen probably was the first scholar who used in his Sanskrit-Lithuanian comparisons the phrase, very famous phrase for Lithuanian scholars: the god gave teeth, the god will give bread. This is English translation. And in Sanskrit, it sounds Devo dantana dadat, Devo dhanam dasyati. And in Lithuanian sounds, just listen, Dievas dantis davė, Dievas duona duos. So, this is very famous sentence, as a matter of fact, and it was used in many works of linguists of different times. In 1850, this phrase was cited again by Simonas Daukantas, was the first author of Lithuanian history in the Lithuanian language. And after that, this phrase has been continuously cited in linguistic comparisons by various scholars up to these days. The ideas related to possible linguistic and cultural links between Lithuania and India became quite common among educated people in Lithuania, and the topic was widely discussed from the very beginning of the 19th century. I guess that the reason of such awareness could be related to the common high level of science and education at Vilnius University. At that time, I guess also that to the activities of aforesaid Joachim Lelewel, a very popular professor of history, who was an author of the first monograph, by the way, in the Eastern Europe dedicated to the history of India. All these activities, unfortunately, were interrupted when Vilnius University was closed by the Russian authorities after our uprising of 1931. We have quite complicated history, and so, but this is another topic already. We could speak about the second wave of a romantic rather than purely academic etymological movement that started in the beginning of the 20th century or even during the last years of the 19th century. The first wave of that kind could be concerned with intellectual aspirations in the beginning of the 19th century mentioned above. In both cases, this interest in Sanskrit and Indian culture was related to the raising of the national movement and national idea which continued in the last decades of the 20th century as well, when the process of liberation from the Soviet, even in the end of the 20th century, when the process of liberation from Soviet oppression was afoot in Lithuania. At that time, ideas about Indo-Lithuanian relations were widely discussed again. This keen interest in Sanskrit and Indian culture was particularly evident in the first decades of the 20th century too. The idea that Lithuanians should look for their relations in India became very popular. It had to do with the increasing national movement and the quest of the national identity. And I want to mention here our, as a matter of fact, the author of Lithuanian national idea, Dr. Jonas Basanavičius. He was the famous explorer of the Lithuanian folk tradition, especially tales. And he was familiar with these research efforts and even exchanged some correspondence with some prominent Indian scholars of that time. And I guess this topic could be also, we could proceed with this investigation of this relation. For example, he kept correspondence with Dr. Jivanji Jamshedji Modi, famous linguist of the end of the 19th and the beginning of the 20th century. You see photos of Dr. Modi and Dr. Basanavičius in these figures. Now, let's turn to some comparisons. So most illustrative part of my presentation. Thanks to this interest, until now there has been a nice popular myth going around that all Lithuanians do not need, in Lithuania especially, do not need any interpreter to speak with Indian people, for the Lithuanian language and Sanskrit are almost identical. This is sometimes I hear these words in Lithuanian when I tell people that I'm teaching Sanskrit. They tell, "Oh, yes, but we could speak in India without a translator because Lithuanian is almost the same like Sanskrit." This is the legend, and this legend is related to our some national identity, of course. Lithuanians, even common Lithuanians, know that yes, we speak almost Sanskrit. Yes, yes. This is nowadays as well. So the question is more complicated, of course, not so easy. I have here my 3 students here. And they could say that, is it easy or not? So, however, some similarities of this kind are easily perceptible, especially at the lexical level. Words. And of course, I put words, 108 words in this small book, but I will show you this Sanskrit Lietuvian Mala, I call this. It means Sanskrit Lithuanian string, and 108 words, because I was thinking about the limit, how we needed small book to introduce this question to different peoples and to politicians, scholars, and so on. But much more words they could be put in such kind of book, and we hope that we will write very big book for that. For these words, but 108, it's like a number. Sacred number in India, you know this. So Mala, you know Mala, and Mala is 108. So you have Sanskrit Lithuania and Sanskrit Mala in this small book. So let's take for the at first let's look to the term Sanskritam, the name of the language. Yes, Sanskritam is probably not all of you, but some of you or most of you know, means created, elaborated, and this is perfect participle in Sanskrit. And in Lithuanian we have corresponding perfect participle sukurta. If we take this word part by part, you know what's. I'm sorry, I am linguist. I will introduce some, or will force you remember some terms. So words have prefixes, they have roots, and they have suffixes, and they have endings. Yes, it's enough. So in Sanskrit term, I separated by deficits. Sanskrit term we have sam. Sam is prefix. Then between prefix sam and k, we have sound s, which appears here due to some phonetic circumstances. It's not prefix, not root, just because of phonetics. And the root is kr. Kr is with the vowel r. We have now this vowel in Lithuania and in the Lithuanian language. It's always marked by r with dot or even small zero under this letter. And usually it's pronounced, and now it's pronounced like ri, but it's not ri, it's like sound r. Sanskrita, it originally could be, but we are used to pronounce it like Sanskrita. So, and this is the root kr, and the suffix, the ending suffix is perfect participle suffix ta. And this is a word without the ending. If we put in normal nominative case, so it will be Sanskritam. Yes, it's written in Devanagari characters. And in Lithuanian we have the same. Sam always corresponds to Lithuanian su, prefix su, and then the root kur. You know, it's like law and rule where we have Sanskrit ri, this r. In Lithuania we have diphthongs ur, ul, ir, usually. So the root kr and kur is the same, etymologically is the same root, and the suffix past perfect suffix ta is also the same. So we have the same word, sukurta. But we have no neuter gender, so we will put this masculine, and we'll have sukurtas. So this is about the term Sanskritam. It's directly corresponds to Lithuanian word sukurtas. Yes, and as I mentioned above, we could find a lot of lexical correspondences. Just few of them I gave there very free examples. In the first group, there are correspondences which are very easy traceable without any comments. In God, in Lithuanian is dievas, in Sanskrit devas. Okay, yes, I understand that I put the ending s in Sanskrit, usually according to Sanskrit rules. All, not all, but who study Sanskrit, they know that in Sanskrit it changes to visarga, and we will have devaha, as this devaha. But as a matter of fact, the ending is s, and in some forms, in some Sanskrit positions, we see this before dental t, ta, ta, between tavarga, so-called. So we could see this, but the ending is the same. So I will put in all my examples, so you will see the endings put with s. And then sheep, avis, in Sanskrit, avis. No, I have no comments. In horse, in Lithuania, we have a name for female horse, ashva, archaic, ashva. And ashva in Sanskrit, the horse. And then in Lithuanian, we have no aspirated consonants at all. In Sanskrit, you have dhumas, and in Lithuanian, smoke is the same dumas. And some examples could be explained with easy traceable phonetic changes. For example, space, world, in Lithuanian, especially field, laukas, and in Sanskrit, corresponding word is lokach. Only earlier this O, Sanskrit O, was pronounced like diphthong O, more like diphthong lokach. So honey, in Lithuanian, medus, we have different vowel, but and aspirated consonant, madhu in Sanskrit, honey, and now more complicated maybe, but I need to show that where we have Lithuanian ra, yima, winter or cold period, yima. In Lithuania, in the Lithuanian language, usually for this Sanskrit ha corresponds Lithuanian zh, specific sound not found in Sanskrit, and you don't know zh. And we have zhema, the same cold period, winter, and of course, fire, ugnis, agnis. Just the same word from the same root, from the same derivated from the same Indo-European root. Fire is the same, and declination is also very similar. And I would like stop for some on some special cases, because this year we have very special case. We celebrate our anniversary of our 700th anniversary of our beloved city, capital of Lithuania, Vilnius. And Vilnius is the dreamed city. You see pictures of Vilnius, and here is the monument of Lithuanian king Gediminas. King Gediminas, and he is standing, and Gediminas is considered founder of Vilnius, and it's very interesting and beautiful story about this. Oh, sorry, I wanted to take this. And to let you know, very short but very romantic story about Vilnius, how it happened Vilnius to come into being. This, of course, popular story, legend, Purana. This is like Lithuanian Purana of Vilnius. Yes. Once upon a time, the king of Lithuania, Gediminas, was hunting in the holy woods. Of course, king was hunting. It's you know this motif. Of course, one king in Indian tradition was hunting as well, and he found very beautiful girl, Shakuntala, Dushyanta. But this is only just to show how it plays, of course. Tired after a successful day hunt, the king settled night there, and he fell asleep and had a dream. A huge iron wolf was standing on the top of a hill, and the sound of hundreds of wolves inside it filled up all surroundings, fields and woods, and so on. Upon wake up, the king asked the priest to reveal the secret of the dream. We had priests in our ancient tradition, yeah, and priest told the king, what is destined for the ruler and the country, let it be. The iron wolf means a castle and a town which will be established by the ruler on the side. The town will be the capital of the Lithuania and the dwelling of the rulers. And the glory of their deeds shall echo throughout the world like the sound of iron wall. And so, this is the legend. But in fact, in 1323, so exactly 700 years ago, Gediminas was already sending letters to European cities inviting merchants and craftspeople to come to the city and to live here. And these letters of Gediminas are considered like the date of founding the capital Vilnius. From that time, we have a capital of Lithuania, Vilnius. So I want to let us look to the. Firstly, we'll look to Purana, to legend, and what we found, what we find in the legend. You see the castle on the hill in this figure, of course. This is Gediminas castle. This is the place where this iron wolf stood. And it was a dream. In Lithuanian, dream is sapnas. In Sanskrit is svapnas. It's the same word again. And again, vilkas, a wolf, is urkas. Urkas, as I mentioned above, this sound vowel r corresponds usually to Lithuanian ir, il, ur, and we found vilkas, it's the same word again. So in the legend we find two realities, two words connected already with Sanskrit. And now we will turn to the name of Vilnius. Very shortly, it could be longer investigation and so on, but very shortly. The name Vilnius comes from hydronym, means river's name Vilna, and Vilna is not very big, but very rapid river, just below the castle hill, where this small river meets bigger river, Neris, in this place, exactly, in this place. And Vilna is here, behind these trees. Is small but very rapid river, is Vilna. And now, Vilnius got his name from Vilna, and Vilna's name is from what Vilnis, small wave, because this river has small waves, which are called, which is called Vilnis in Lithuania. And so this word, Vilnis, small wave, is a cognate with the Sanskrit word urmis, urmis, a wave, and could be related with the other Sanskrit cognates. By the way, a few, around 10 could be found, derived from the same root. For example, urna, wool. By the way, wool in Lithuanian is vilna, from the same root, wool. Urna in Sanskrit. Balas, cave, and Sanskrit root, verbal root, vrinoti, vrinute, the fifth class, it means to close, they are related. These words are related. So our capital, Vilnius, has the name which is also related with a few Sanskrit words. And the last but not the least, we have very beautiful, not very big, but very beautiful river in Lithuania with pure Sanskrit name, This river is called Siesartis. It's very notable river because on this on banks of the river stands very beautiful town Molėtai, and in this beautiful town was born Diana Mickevičienė, now Her Excellency Ambassador of Lithuania. So Diana, I guess Diana spent her childhood and her young years on the banks of the river with Sanskrit name, and it was her destiny already to be here with us. Thanks to that. And if we see Siesartis is etymologically related with the Sanskrit verbal root sri. Again, this sound, it means to run, flow, move rapidly. Present tense of this verb, he, she runs, is Siesarti. Just listen, Siesarti. He, she runs is Siesarti. The river's name is Siesartis. And again, we have even more Lithuanian verbs and words which are related to these verbs. It's a Lithuanian verb srūti, to flow abundantly, and so on. That's the words. So very, I took already a lot of time. I have to finish. Be patient, please. Just few slides. So we could find resemblances in grammatical structures as well. For example, in declination, we have some the cases which are directly the same like in Sanskrit. For example, nominative case, I already showed, devas, God, dievas in Lithuanian, or locative case, examples of Franz Bopp mentioned above, in Lithuanian, in the God, dieve, and in Lithuanian, deve. And the plural forms, we have some archaic dual forms, but didn't take here for examples, but we have a plural form instrumental case with gods. In Sanskrit, we have device, in Lithuanian, device. And again, if we have some comparative comparison of conjugation system, for example, Sanskrit word as to be is in I am asmi, is in present tense we have I am asmi, tu art, singular form, it's archaic in English, but I use it for this asi, and he, she is asti. In Lithuanian, archaic form asmi, normal form esi, and also almost archaic form, but still used, esti. You see correspondences. And in the end of this introduction of similarities of words and grammar, we could read some phrases of or expressions. You know, here I translation in English, who art tu, and that art tu. This is also archaic forms in English. Usually we ask who are you, and that you are, that you are. but this is archaic forms better to show these resemblances. In Lithuanian, the first sentence is "Kas tu esi?" question. Kas tu esi? In Sanskrit, kas tvamasi? Kas tvamasi? Yes, and we know very famous words from Upanishads. Tat tvamasi, tat tvamasi. In Lithuanian, tat tu esi, or could be formed tatai tu esi, tatai tu esi. That's some sentences we could, as I mentioned above, some sentences we could understand without any translation. So it's good. And some final notes. Up till now, the single scientific monograph, if we don't take to account this my modest attempt, but normal scientific monograph dedicated to these cultural and linguistic ties has been the book, by the way, prepared with the help of the Lithuanian scholar and traveler, Dr. Antanas Poška. I want to mention Dr. Antanas Poška because this year is also anniversary, 120th anniversary from Antanas Poška's birth. And Antanas Poška helped the prominent Indian linguist Suniti Kumar Chatterjee to prepare this monograph called Balts and Aryans. This monograph was published in 1968. I was 8 years old that time. Nowadays I'm a little bit older. And the 15th chapter of this book is designed to the linguistic features of the Baltic languages, Lithuanian, Latvian, Old Prussian. By the way, His Excellency Latvian ambassador, as I know, he is here. So Suniti Kumar Chatterjee pays huge attention to Latvian materials, especially Dianas. He was interested in Dianas, and we checked his library with Diana today. A lot of books concerned with Latvian Dianas, a lot of books there. He compared this with Sanskrit. And we see that despite this quite picturesque history of Indian studies in Lithuania, spanning more than 2 centuries, it's obvious that a lot of job still could be done both in the field of academic research and in preparing the main educational tools. For example, handbooks, especially dictionaries. We need dictionaries, etc. Therefore, we could express a modest hope that our common attempts, yours and ours, will inspire explorers especially from India. We need explorers from India to proceed with our investigations, and Lithuania to proceed with further investigation in this very important field of linguistic and common cultural studies. And thanking for your kind attention and for your patience, I again show the same photo of Lithuanian Ashvieni and Indian gods. You know very well them. Ashvins, twin gods who usually ride horses or go with their chart through the sky and help people in very difficult situations since the times of Rig Veda. So I hope that they will help us in our jobs, and thank you for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. It was so interesting, so enlightening, excellent, very well researched, and it shows that it's your lifelong work that you have done. India and Lithuania, yes, we are far off, but when we talk about culture, language, and our ways, our philosophy of life, the ways of thinking and behaving, we are very close. So first of all, I would like to just say a few words about the horses. Horses, they are protectors because they represent power, because they represent speed. They were used in wars, and also they represent knowledge. In China, they represent knowledge because all the Sanskrit texts were taken on the horsebacks, especially the white horses. So, yes, of course, in many, in most of the countries, so much has been lost linguistically, and so much has been preserved in tribes, in villages, and similarly, we have the same problem in India. When we go to villages, I could find the words that are used in villages in the Rig Veda. So, languages change, and terms, words, they disappear because people don't want to use them. They want an easy path, something that they don't want to learn. So, as Excellency was saying, I don't want to learn the Bazari Hindi. I want to learn the standard Hindi. So, the way she speaks, it's really, it shows that how much she's so much passionate about it. So, you said about, Professor, the term Balts, from where does it come? But I have a question about the language Indo-European. My question is that which is the area where this language Indo-European was spoken, and who were the people, and how they disappeared, and from where and when? And worshipping Mother Goddess, yes, you have priests and priestesses appointed by the kings. As in India, we have the tradition of Rajagurus. And this tradition has gone far off to many of the Asian countries, so we cannot go into the details. And worshipping nature brings us very close, both India and Lithuania. Our culture, our civilization is developed on the banks of the rivers, because rivers flow with pure water, and whatever is there all around are forests, trees full of fruits. What we learn from them is that there is everything in abundance. We don't have to demean anybody, we don't have to crush anybody. So it's a river culture that brings us together. This is what, and Agni, for example, they are the worshippers of Agni, and the worshippers of Agni means it takes them very, very long into the history to the Vedic period, where we had the fire ritual, and still we have in India, but it was mainly at that time. And Daina, for example, Daina comes from the Sanskrit word dhena. Yeah, dhena, the oral tradition of singing. It is in Avesta, it is gatha, and in Persian it becomes deen, like Daina, deen. So you see, in by the end of 18th century, there was so much research going on about comparative studies, as you talked about Franz Bopp, and there were other scholars also working on it. And all the European countries, they were so happy when they could trace the origin of their language going down deep with having connections with Sanskrit. So they said, deeper the roots, higher the branches. The most important dictionary by James Murray, it was published sometime in 1888, because it's a huge dictionary, multi-volume. All volumes are thick, of this size. And in that dictionary on historical principles, the first Oxford Dictionary on historical principles, takes us to a backward journey, that how different words were there in different languages, Old English, Persian, German, etc., etc. So we have so many facts, common roots in Sanskrit, from Sanskrit, grammatical formations, and there are some formations that are there that Professor showed you right now. But I want to make it more clear that many of them are not there even in Hindi. For example, he showed the terms like, if anybody who knows Sanskrit here, so Ramah, Ramam, Ramena, Ramaya, Rama, Ramat, Ramase, like this. So they have similar, but in Hindi, we say Ram ka, Ram ke liye, is tarah se. So we don't have those special terms which you have retained in Lithuanian language. So it was so amazing to listen to you that even Lithuanian, the common people in Lithuania, they can speak because if we understand, because the pronunciation changes, because there are some vowels and some consonants that are different in different languages. So it becomes different to pronounce certain sounds. So it has happened all over Europe, how Sanskrit words have gone into the European languages. For example, Vakshu became Oxus. So how it became and when and all this. So there are many we Indians, I think we have to collaborate, and we have to because so far as I know, I may be wrong, but the European scholars, the way you people are working, it's amazing. And we need your support, I think, in place of saying that we should collaborate and cooperate. We should be help. I think you can show us the path, how we can work on these things. So you are the pujaris, for example, the worshippers of nature, worshippers of Agni. So this is worshipping nature, because nature gave us everything that we need. So we became worshippers of nature, worshippers of sun and moon, all this you are doing. So it's a great pleasure to listen to you. And we are really grateful to you. And I know how much interest is there in the Upanishads also. And I can see the same interest in other countries also. For example, in Bulgaria, one of my friends, Professor Milena Bratoeva, and her friend and her colleague, both of them translated 8 Upanishads. And in just 15 days, it was out of stock. All the copies were sold. And it was declared as bestseller. So this much is the interest in Europe, and I hope we can have you more here and listen to you and be enlightened. And we also want to, because it's new for many Indians that we are so close. So more has to be done in various fields. Not only grammar, not only language, but also traditions. Also, you could see the Kastvamasi and the Tattvamasi and all this. It's just the sentences are there, phrases are there. It's amazing. So we have similar things. For example, I was thinking about the numbers also. 3, 2, 3. This is Chaturi, Penki, Seshi, Shashta, Septimi, Sapta. So the same we have in Russian, Yadasha. The same we have in Russian, the same similar things. In Russian, in French, in German. For example, I made a list, I made a table of numbers, that how they go very close to Sanskrit, even English. So my question was, why in 2 there is W in between T and O, because it comes from Dwau, from Sanskrit. So these are excellent examples and very interesting and thrilling. It is not just to say that it is a language of, I think it was a shared language by the world. So it's a great pleasure. Can we take some questions?
Yes.
I thank the audience, the excellencies, all the distinguished guests here, my friends. Just very briefly, please, very briefly.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you about my name is Anil Nauria, and I'm a lawyer. You mentioned the closure of Vilnius University in 1931. 1931. 1831.
1830, yes, 39, yes.
Was it 1831? Because the
18, not,
8? Yeah.
1831 was after uprising. It was a great uprising in Lithuania, and after that, the main center of uprising was Vilnius University, and it was closed because of that.
Well, I would like to congratulate you for all what you have spoken.
Thank you
It's
very
so
much.
much of depth in it. And I think we can collaborate together on some more issues out of the Vedas and how we can really understand the gist of Vedas as spirituality.
Yes.
So that is the theme of all Sanskrit, And Tattvamasi means that we are that.
Yes.
And who we are. So we've been working on it
Yes.
for a long time. So I would like to present you one book
Oh,
on
great.
on spiritual literacy for digital age.
Oh.
And this is
thank
based on science and logic, of course,
Thank you very much.
on Indian knowledge system. So I think we'll be able to collaborate with you through
Yeah,
Shashiji.
sure, we will. And any other question? Briefly? Yeah, please.
Okay. Oops, so sorry. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. That's a kind of a paradox that we are neighbors. And when I was looking on the screen, Dr. Vidunas, during your presentation, of course, I recognized so many similar words, and you know very, very well that most of them make sense for any Latvian as well. But still, to understand each other, nowadays we need a third language, despite our common roots. So I know Sanskrit.
Yes,
you.
of course. Yes, of course. And even with my colleague, I don't know, but the person who studies such relations in Latvia is Victor Iubulis, academician. I have good relations, and we speak English with him.
Yeah, wonderful. That Sanskrit can be a common language among us.
He speaks Bengali.
Yes, I know. He speaks Bengali, but I don't.
There is one more
yeah.
question there.
So, thank you, Professor, for a very fascinating talk. I was just wondering about methodology in comparative linguistics. For example, like you showed a few lists of cognates and and also some sentence construction. But what about things like glottochronology or lexicostatistics and things like that have been tried for detecting the convergence and divergence between languages? That might be a way to go here, or has it already been tried?
Yes, definitely. It could be the way, strict linguistic methods, I mean, because what is done by me, it's like a demonstration of possible works, what could be and should be done in this field of knowledge. And if we research, we need to use very strict linguistic methodology, and who works in this field of knowledge knows that the linguistics is the same like mathematics. It's very strict linguistic laws, and it should be scientists, and if we will proceed with our work on these words and cognates, we will, of course, we will use contemporary linguistic methods and statistics and so on. Thank you very much. Of course.
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Good evening. Thank you very much. I am Teodoro Maldonado, Ambassador of Ecuador. I am a Spanish speaker, so therefore I'm very interested in a lecture tonight. Professor, congratulations. But if you could share, or anyone from any three of you could share a little more on the connection between, of course, Sanskrit and the other European languages, the Indo-European languages. And this, I think I heard something from Professor Bala about the Indo-European, and
Yes.
I think there is a different thinking in Europe and in India about Indo-European and the origin of all Indo-European languages. So I'd like to hear a little more about that. Thank you.
And one more thing, may I add, please, Excellency? Because we are in this hall, we are from different countries. And I started doing one thing. I made an Excel sheet with Sanskrit word, English, and then from different languages. But I could work only for a few words. It was not, it was so difficult to, it's a real challenge. So what we can do is we can make a group of different linguists from different countries. And we have now with technology, it has become so easy. So we have at least 500 words or maybe 1000 words, commonly used words, and everybody can write from their own language.
Yes.
And there can be a chart to see. I was working on, for example, the word Giri for mountain. So the Giri mountain has changed and it has percolated into many European languages.
Yes.
In some it is Kili, some it is Gili, some. So there are some changes in pronunciation, but that are there. So with these words, because please, Ambassador.
I am the ambassador of Peru, where
Oh, wow.
I must say that Sanskrit is becoming quite interesting in Latin America.
Oh, well.
There are some schools in Mexico, in Costa Rica, perhaps in Ecuador. And I must say as well that in Delhi, as you know, is Oscar.
Yes, Oscar Pujol.
Oscar Pujol,
Yeah.
who is the director of
The Spanish.
El Cervantes, the Spanish
Spanish
Cultural
Cultural
Center,
Yes.
who during 10 years made the dictionary Sanskrit Spanish,
Oh, wow.
as well as Sanskrit Catalan.
Yeah.
I must say that
Catalan,
did
yes.
Catalan, and
Yeah.
because
Wow.
he's from Barcelona,
Yeah.
and then Spanish. In any case, this is a very good starting that Sanskrit should be well known in Latin
Thank
America. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
We shall be working on, and we'll be in touch so that something can be done. So shall we wind up now? I request Excellency Daina Mikevich to please say a few words. Although we should thank her and we should thank formally to Professor. So
It's my great pleasure to thank all of you so patiently sitting through that rather specialized lecture on linguistics and comparative cultural studies. I really admired your interest and patience. I would also like to thank my teacher, my guru, my Sanskrit teacher, and a friend who came to India on a roadshow on this same subject, where we will be going and speaking to several academic institutions in India, and Delhi, Pune, and Kolkata in the next week. And we really want to call out for interest to this very interesting, intriguing, mysterious, I would almost say, subject, to promote the interest in linguistics and small, quaint, as ambassador of Latvia said, dinosauric languages of Europe, which have very few speakers, but they are very precious missing links in understanding how languages evolved and traveled. And I would also specifically like to thank Professor Shashi Bala, who's been given us a helping hand in organizing and encouraging us.
I am grateful to you, Excellency.
So it's a sweet vote of thanks, because I want to give you sweets from Lithuania. Thank you. Thank you. We know that studies are sometimes bitter, but you need some sweetness to bear the brunt of bitterness and enjoy the fruits.
I would like to thank Professor Shishwala as well. And this is from our university. You see logo of our university.
Thank you. Thank you.
I also wanted to thank Dr. Sudha Gopalan, who was helping us to organize this whole thing in IIC, head of the International Research Department, but she seems to be missing. So I just voice out my thanks to her in front of you. And we have some more sweetness from Lithuania. We just received a fresh supply of our cottage cheese chocolate bars. So those who are not in a hurry, please come and grab one to sweeten up, a very serious evening. This is the unique product that is produced only in Lithuania and Latvia. So I must acknowledge that it's a very truly Baltic, dairy products, pure veg, and very safe to eat and very fresh. So thanks all of you, and hope to see you for other discussions on that topic. Thank you.
I want to present this dictionary to Professor Vytis Vidunas. This is English Sanskrit dictionary. That is the first dictionary that is made by an Indian. It was made before 1947, but it could never be published because the work is so challenging.